Time for focus. Now, on Thursday, it'll be a week since the Iran nuclear deal, with Tehran agreeing to curtail its nuclear program in return for an easing of economic sanctions. Officially, Saudi Arabia didn't disapprove of the deal, but it was worried that Iran, flush with new revenues, would intensify its activities across the Middle East. And Riyadh appears to have surprisingly forged closer ties with another country weary of Iran's intentions, Israel. France 24's Marc Perelman reports.
It was just 1 year ago. The West and Iran were signing a historic agreement on the Iranian nuclear program. In exchange for a lifting of sanctions, Tehran agreed to limit its nuclear activities and to an intrusive inspection regime.
So I think this is a sign of hope for the entire world, and we all know that this is very much needed in these times.
While it was all smiles in Vienna, the deal felt like a cold shower for the fiercest opponents of Iran's return on the world stage, Israel and Saudi Arabia, pushing these two sworn enemies to engage each other in secret. A few weeks earlier, an unusual forum was held at the prestigious Council on Foreign Relations. Side by side, an Israeli and a Saudi, but not just anyone. The Israeli is Dori Gold, who is very close to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The Saudi is retired General Anwar Eshki, an advisor to the royal family. The timing for this meeting was no accident. At the same moment in Vienna, negotiations on Iran were about to bear fruit.
Today, our two states are facing the same set of security challenges. Our interests increasingly overlap. These security challenges that I'm speaking about primarily emanate from the same single source: the Islamic Republic of Iran.
This coming out in Washington was the result of 5 secret meetings between Israelis and Saudis in the Czech Republic, in Italy, and pictured here, in India. Gold and Eshki each run a think tank, a handy academic coverage to camouflage contacts between the two countries banned since the creation of Israel in 1948. And it was no coincidence either to see Eshki, a highly respected voice in Riyadh, interviewed by Israeli media, and in turn Gold, now director of Israel's foreign ministry, speaking to a Saudi newspaper. Meanwhile, Tehran was having a field day denouncing what it calls an Israeli-Saudi alliance. A few weeks ago, the Speaker of the Iranian parliament even told a Lebanese television channel that back in 2006, Riyadh and Jerusalem had cooperated during the war between Israel and Hezbollah, the Lebanese Shia militia backed by Iran.
Not only Saudi Arabia did not help Hezbollah, but quite the opposite, it has helped the Zionist entity. According to our information during the war in July 2006, Saudi Arabia even provided Israel with strategic intelligence.
A claim that the head of Israel's military intelligence at the time confirmed on France 24 for the very first time.
The fact that the Saudis were also supporting the fact that Hezbollah as a terror organization will be defeated is not a surprise.
According to our information, those contacts are continuing, this time at an official level. Earlier this year, the Israeli defense minister didn't even try to hide it.
But we do have channels to speak with our Sunni Arab neighboring countries, not just Jordan and Egypt, Gulf states, North African states. As we share today, Israel and them, and we claim Europe and the United States, common interests. For them, Iran is an enemy. The Shia axis, to include Hezbollah, is an enemy.
However, for the Saudis, relations with Israel remain an extremely sensitive issue.
There seems to be a de facto alliance between Saudi Arabia and Israel because they both have their problems with Iran. Are you having any exchanges with Israel on Iran?
No.
Still, there have been interactions between the Wahhabi kingdom and the Jewish state, and at a very concrete level. In April, during a visit to Egypt by Saudi King Salman, Cairo announced the handover to Saudi Arabia of 2 small islands in the Red Sea. These islands are of strategic interest for Israel, as they control the access to the strait leading to the port town of Eilat, Israel's one and only access to the Red Sea. Here's the rub. Under the terms of the 1979 peace agreement between Israel and Egypt, such a transfer, in this case to Saudi Arabia, must be validated by Israel. And that is precisely what happened. Riyadh officially committed itself to respect freedom of navigation in the area for everyone, including Israel. Another player in those semi-official meetings is the former head of Saudi intelligence, Prince Turki Al Faisal. 2 months ago, he took the stage alongside Netanyahu's former national security advisor.
My highest wish, and I wish I could do it tomorrow, is to go and pray in the mosque in Jerusalem.
You are more than welcome.
I know, from your point of view. But unfortunately, there has to be an accommodation on the issue of the two-state solution.
This is why the Saudis want to revive their so-called Arab Initiative. First put on the table in 2002 and adopted by the Arab League, it envisions a normalized relationship between Israel and the Arab world in exchange for a peace deal between Israel and the Palestinians. Rejected by Israel at the time, it is now being re-examined by the Israeli government, even though it is the most right-wing government in Israel's history.
The Arab Peace Initiative includes positive elements that can help revive constructive negotiations with the Palestinians. We are willing to negotiate with the Arab states revisions to that initiative so that it reflects the dramatic changes in the region since 2002.
Iran has brought Israel and Saudi Arabia closer. The enemy of my enemy is not necessarily my friend, but it can be my new ally.
Joining me now from Chatham House in London is Yossi Meckelberg. Hello, thank you very much for joining us on today's Focus. Now, Saudi Arabia and Israel growing closer, is that something you anticipated, that you expected to happen as a result of the Iran nuclear deal?
Well, I think we should actually go where your item was ended. You go back to 2002 and the Arab Peace Initiative that was conceived in Riyadh and gave birth in Beirut is actually the basis of this kind of a new alliance goes back to the Arab Peace Initiative, in which Saudi Arabia and then the Crown Prince Abdullah said very clearly, if Israel ends its conflict with the Palestinians, it will get the recognition from the entire Arab world, and of course including Saudi Arabia. It's the guardian of the two holy places. So I think actually the seeds of that are going back to 2002. Of course, the fear of Iran, and both countries have legitimate concerns about the way Iran behaves in the region. Israel, for instance, feels that Iran is in Syria, it's in Lebanon, it supports the Hamas. So there is a sense of concern, as grave concerns about Iran's handling in the region. But the seeds of the potential alliance, go even beyond this.
Who stands to benefit the most from this alliance?
I think both. Saudi Arabia is very concerned about extremism and radicalization in the region, generally. Not only Shiite, but also Sunni. They are very much concerned of Iran, especially post-sanctions, become a way stronger hegemonic force in the region. Israel is worried seeing the Hezbollah in Lebanon, also in Syria, is getting stronger, more powerful, better equipped. The support of the Hamas. This is a kind of almost great an alliance of interest, and it just proved the point that in international relations, animosities or alliances depends on interest. And at this point in history, both countries have clear interest to work together.
You mentioned the Palestinian issue. Is it going to take progress on that before we see overt cooperation? Well,
it takes a really an optimist to believe that anything will happen on this front. For instance, the visit of the Egyptian foreign minister in Israel, talking again about reigniting the peace process. I think there is a lot of lip service and too little is done on the ground. Even when Netanyahu talk, yes, there are good elements in the Arab Peace Initiative, but you also learn from what he said that he thinks there are bad elements in the Arab Peace Initiative. Mainly, he talks about the right of return, probably on Jerusalem as well. I think what we need to see on the Palestinian issues, the things happen, for instance, the freeze of settlements. We need to see that there is real progress on issues like refugees and Jerusalem and borders. Otherwise, what we see is mainly lip service by everyone around, but no one cares about the real conditions, whether it's in Gaza or in the West Bank, and finding a political solution that's not only deal with this, it starts with human rights, political rights, and civil rights.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Yossi Mecklenburg, for joining us for today's Focus.